This is your Classical Break, your daily dose of classical music. I'm Tyler Alderson, and today we'll be starting listening to Borodin's first string quartet. We'll hear the first movement today. There are a lot of child prodigies in classical music, so much so that it almost seems like a prerequisite. Guys like Mozart, Mendelssohn, and Liszt were famous in their teens, and even later bloomers like Brahms and Beethoven had successes under their belt by the age of 30. When Borodin was 30, he was a chemistry professor, studying music as a side hobby and deep in the world of academia. He was 36 years old when his first symphony was premiered and well into his 40s when he started gaining international recognition for his music. As we'll delve into during our look at his first string quartet, his life and career was unique in so many ways, which makes his musical achievements all the more remarkable. When I say Borodin was a chemistry professor, I'm understating it a little bit. If he had never written a note of music, there's a good chance we'd still remember his name, because he made some important contributions to the world of science. In fact, he's even co-credited with discovering a few chemical reactions, one of which bears his name. He continued teaching and researching even after finding success as a composer, and wrote some of his most popular works in between lectures and time spent in the lab. In fact, one of my favorite quotes from him is, "In winter, I can only write music when I am so ill that I don't give lectures, don't go to the laboratory, yet all the same can work a little. For this reason, my musical friends, contrary to universal custom, always wish me not health, but sickness." He was also an advocate for women's rights, and especially for their right to an education. He started up the first medical courses for women offered in Russia, and he welcomed women into his lab long before it was thought acceptable to do so. A lot of this attitude can be attributed to his wife, who was a passionate campaigner for women's rights, and it's worth noting that in a sea of womanizers, creeps, and unhappy marriages, Borodin is one composer who not only seems to have had a healthy relationship with his wife and women, but also respected her and other women as equals. Borodin started composition lessons under the great Russian composer Mily Balakirev when he was in his late 20s. Balakirev was the leader of a small group of composers often called the Mighty Handful, or the Five, that sought to establish a distinctly Russian flavor of classical music. Borodin was the oldest of Balakirev's students, and he also had a few unique interests, one of which was chamber music. The string quartet in particular was viewed by some of the others as obsolete, a product of Germanic classicism that didn't have much of a place in their new romantic Russian idiom. But with his musical reputation rising, Borodin started writing this one, while finishing his opera Prince Igor, and finally published it in 1879 at the tender age of 46. It was well received, and one critic even went so far as to say that Borodin had written Russia's first great chamber piece. The first movement that we'll listen to today showcases Borodin's ear for lyricism, and it features a slow opening that segues into the faster main part of the movement. It also features a theme from one of Beethoven's string quartets as its main theme, a nod to one of the great writers of the form. Here's the Muse-Open String Quartet with the first movement of Alexander Borodin's first string quartet. There's that old cliche, good things come to those who wait, and maybe we can amend it to say that good things come from those who wait. A beautiful first movement from a guy who was definitely a late bloomer in the world of classical music. Thanks to the Musopen String Quartet for putting that up on musopen.org. And thank you for listening. If you have the chance, please rate and review this podcast wherever it is that you're getting it. I'm Tyler Alderson, and tomorrow we'll be continuing with the second and third movements of Borodin's First String Quartet. I'll see you then.